Hi Blackboarders, back again this week talking about how to create position descriptions easily. Clear roles and responsibilities are critical for a growing business. I use the analogy of doubles tennis. If you've ever played tennis with a partner, you know how critical it is that each of you is clear about which parts of the court you're responsible for and which parts your partner is. Failing to do so means both of you going for the same ball and smacking each other on the head with a tennis racket, or the two of you leaving it for the other player and standing there looking at each other like complete muppets. And it's exactly the same with business, except instead of a tennis ball, it's critical tasks and functions that makes your business run efficiently. If you've got multiple team members all taking a shot at those tasks, that's inefficient. And if you've got critical tasks that nobody's taking responsibility for, then that means they just aren't being done. So how do you make sure that your team are clear about what they are responsible for? Well, we know the answer. It's position descriptions, job descriptions. But how do we actually create those in a way that isn't a massive task on you, the business owner, or whichever of your team is responsible for HR and people management? Well, here's the process that we're going to walk through using the R&R framework, which, as we know, roles and responsibilities creates rest and recuperation for business owners, R&R. So here's the process I get businesses to go through to create role descriptions. The first thing is to get each and every team member to spend 2 weeks recording all of their tasks on sheets of paper or a Microsoft Word document, some kind of notepad. At the end of the 2 weeks, they will have a long list. It doesn't matter how much detail they go into. Some people are very, very detail oriented. They'll have pages. Some people are a little bit more contextual. They'll chunk things up. That's okay too. The level of detail is whatever feels right for each individual team member. Now, at the end of the 2 weeks with that long list, you then want each team member to add monthly, quarterly, or annual tasks that they didn't actually do this fortnight. So for example, if they're responsible for paying work cover on an annual basis, then that's a once-a-year task. They're probably not likely to do that within the fortnight, but you need to make sure that they write that down on their sheet. Now we start to work the magic of the R&R framework. We want each person to now go through that list and color code across black, green, blue, and red, and categorize each of their tasks within these headings. Now, a quick run through of these details, but you can download this specific list in an editable document from the Business Depot website. So wealth, as you might remember, covers things like vision, valuation, leadership, succession, as well as you as the business owner, your own personal portfolio and asset protection. Growth, in green, is all about investments that you're making for the future of the business. So that's things like capacity planning, management reporting, brand marketing, culture. Within blue, we get the actual revenue generating tasks. And for most businesses, a majority of the tasks that get recorded are going to be within the blue and the red. Now that may mean you need to create or segment some of these into smaller categories. That's okay. You want to make this list personalized to your business. And lastly, in the red, the administrative tasks within a business, the things that cost you money but are absolutely necessary for running a business. So things like technology, plant and equipment, HR, and supplier management. Now, once you've got each of your team members with their list of tasks color-coded, because that makes it much easier to communicate and much more fun to process, and categorized, the next step is to go through and create an overall responsibility chart for the business. Now, a responsibility chart just looks like this, with those added tasks sitting underneath each of these categories. So for example, under sales, you might have specifics around who prepares the proposals, who does the sales meeting, who makes sure that the contract has been signed by a client. And so you can have some bullet points that sit underneath that sales category. And against each of those tasks, you write the name of the one person who is responsible. Having collated all of that information from your team. Doing it this way will let you know if there are 3 or 4 people who all say that they're responsible for making sure that that contract gets signed. This is where, as a business, you gain efficiency by identifying the one person who needs to be responsible. Now, as we've talked about before, responsibility doesn't mean you have to do that task. It just means you are the one person who is responsible for making sure that it happens. If you have 2 people responsible, well, just like in tennis, you're both going to go for some balls and you're both going to leave some thinking the other person needs to take that on. So get clear, get an individual position, title and name against each of those tasks. Now, once you've got that, you've got a responsibility chart, a list of all of the tasks in a business and which role is responsible for them. Creating position descriptions is just flipping that information over. Instead of task and who, we go who and then what tasks. So we can use the information that we've built going through the responsibility chart, and we can create position descriptions off the back of that. So each individual will have a specific role that lists which of these categories they have responsibilities within and which specific tasks sit underneath them. You now have, with the support of your team, instead of being wholly dependent on you, a series of interconnected position descriptions for every role in the business. And what's more, because of the color, because of the fun, they're position descriptions that are actually going to get referenced and used.